So the Twin Cities have more Fortune 500 companies per capita than New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. But you'd never know that from the skyline. Here's the thing. Minneapolis is the opposite of every other major US city. So today, I'm going to walk you through 6 reasons why. If you're thinking about making a move, make sure you understand the map before you start looking. So let's get into it. Reason 1. Downtown isn't the prize here. So let's start with the big one, because this is the part that resets everything. Think about New York, San Francisco, Boston, and Chicago. In all those cities, downtown tends to drive the value. The closer you get, the more money that you're actually going to pay. Moving out usually means more space and a lower price point. But Minneapolis works a little differently. Some of the strongest prices are west of the city in places like Edina, Wayzata, Minnetonka, and Lake Minnetonka area. Those aren't backup choices at all. Downtown Minneapolis condos actually can sit for months, believe it or not. At the same time, homes in the suburbs can be gone in hours. Edina's average home value is in the high 500,000s. Lake Minnetonka is closer to $1 million, if not a little bit more, which is nearly 3 times the whole metro's median price. Let that sink in a little bit. 3 times. One area is 3 times more expensive. There's a business side of this too, however, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. A lot of major companies also are choosing the suburbs. So if you're moving here from another city, make sure that you reset the map before you start looking. Downtown may not be your obvious first stop here. The value points are different, and the right suburb can be a strong move. So why do these suburbs carry so much weight? That's where we're going to go next. But before we get into that, speaking of making a move, if you're thinking about relocating to the Twin Cities, my team and I help out-of-state buyers with this every single day. We know these suburbs, we live in these suburbs and lake communities, and the whole metro area as well. So if you want help figuring out where to start, fill out the form in the link below this video. Okay, well, let's get back to the video. So reason number 2, the suburbs are the dream. In many metros, suburbs are bedroom communities. You drive in, you drive out, and you sleep there. They're where people land when they want more space. But that's not how it feels here. Minneapolis suburbs have their own downtowns, their own character, and many of them have their own lake access and lakes. In many cases, they have an identity that feels completely separate from downtown Minneapolis or St. Paul. Edina is a great example. It's polished, it's bougie, it's established, and it's been a wanted address for decades and decades. You've got tree-lined streets, plus a lot of walkable retail around France Avenue and 50th Street. People move to Edina because that's where they want to be, and I can't blame them. Wayzata has a completely different feel than Edina. It has more of a small town, lakefront vibe with local boutiques, waterfront restaurants, and direct access to Lake Minnetonka. Anything with true lake access can start well into the millions. One listing there is described as an 8-acre estate, and believe it or not, the asking price is $50 million. Yes, $50 million, and that's not a typo. Minnetonka is more spread out and residential. New construction near the lake can also push well into the multi-millions of dollars. Plymouth, Minnesota was ranked the #1 place to live in Minnesota by US News and number 31 in the entire country. It has a strong community feel, and it's about 20 minutes from downtown. Maple Grove ranked #2 in Minnesota and number 54 nationally. The homes there, they're moving very fast. So keep this in mind, because we'll come back to that in a little bit. The reason these suburbs carry that kind of weight connects right back to where the biggest employers choose to put their headquarters here in the Twin Cities. Now, the reason these suburbs feel so different comes down to something people only understand once they live here. It's the climate. So let's talk about that. Reason number 3. Minneapolis is built around the climate. Most people have the same reaction to our winter. They hear coldest metro in the entire country, and they picture just trying to get through it any way they possibly can. What they don't expect is a city that throws a festival on a frozen lake and shuts down a parkway all for it. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Minneapolis and the Twin Cities area, it's relatively cold. January highs average around 15 degrees. The area gets about 54 inches of snow every single year. The snow season can run anywhere from late October into mid-April. In many cities, that kind of weather feels like a downside. People complain about it from, November to about March. Minneapolis, however, took a different route and they built around the climate. The best example is the Skyway system. The first Skyway opened in the early 1960s, connecting two downtown buildings. Today, it stretches over 10 miles and connects more than 80 city blocks. It's all indoors and it's climate controlled. You can get real work done downtown in January without stepping a single foot outside. Outside the Skyway, winter is still really active here. You'll see outdoor skating rinks in the parks, they're lit at night, and many are free to use. Theodore Worth has groomed cross-country ski trails. Around the chain of lakes, people are still out walking and fat tire biking along with skating. Then there's the City of Lakes Lupit Winter Festival. It started as one ski race in the early 2000s. Now it's a weekend-long winter event, and part of it shuts down a major parkway and city roads so skiers and fat tire bikers can cross. That tells you a lot about this place. People here take winter seriously and they want to have fun outside in the winter, and you can do both. A lot of buyers from warmer places don't expect this. But this same mindset shows up all over the metro. It goes beyond the Skyway. It's how the whole area is actually laid out, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, this is where it affects you as a buyer. Winter changes what people value in their home, believe it or not. Heated garages, they're kind of a big deal. Also floor drains. Gosh, it's nice to have a floor drain if you got a heated garage because the snow melts off your car and you need that water to go somewhere. You can even search for these two things in listings when you're looking in the Twin Cities. And mudrooms. They're common in new construction, and they're pretty much common in any house that was built since about the early 90s. One local custom home builder calls them a must for Minnesotans. Energy efficient windows, those matter too. So good insulation, that's also important, along with newer mechanicals. Those things drive crazy value here. So if you're relocating from somewhere warm, make sure you factor all of those in. And that heated garage next to a good mudroom, you really need those, not just extras. Those are things that you really need. So winter isn't something people apologize for in the Twin Cities. It shapes how people live. You can see that even more when you look at what water means here. Reason number 4, water is lifestyle. So Saturday morning in Minneapolis, your neighbor is already out the door with their bike. They're actually biking to the lake. They're not driving. That's what daily life can look like near the chain of lakes in Minneapolis. In many coastal or river cities, water started as a business. Think New York, San Francisco, or Miami, Chicago, and Seattle. They are ports with shipping and industry that came around those waterways first. The waterfront became viable because it was useful before it was pretty. Minneapolis has that history too, especially along the Mill District by St. Anthony Falls. The Mississippi River powered the mills that helped build the city's early economy. But today, the strongest water pull is the chain of lakes in Minneapolis, or for that matter, any lake in the greater Twin Cities. That includes Lake of the Isles, Bede-Makassar, Lake Harriet, and Cedar Lake, along with Lake Nokomis. Together, they cover about 1,500 acres of public parkland inside the city limits. These lakes aren't private either. They're fully able to be used by anybody. So they have public paths that wrap around them, and anyone can use them year round. Minneapolis, believe it or not, is ranked number 3 in the country for the 2026 Trust for Public Land Park Score. People's routine around these lakes gets to be the same on a daily basis. People walk around Lake Harriet in the morning, bike around Bidet Makasa on Saturdays, sail on Cedar Lake in June, and skate on Lake of the Isles in January. The water here isn't a backdrop at all. It's super functional and super usable. The lake adjacent neighborhoods inside Minneapolis are some of the most competitive spots for purchasing a home in the entire Twin Cities area. Think Linden Hills near Lake Harriet, plus Kenwood and East Isles near Lake of the Isles. So not every part of Minneapolis follows the same downtown trend. These lake neighborhoods are a big reason why. Even with all of that, the water is only part of why this metro acts its own way. Towards the end, the full picture comes together in a surprising way. And then let's talk about the crown jewel, in my personal opinion, Lake Minnetonka. That's a whole different scale. It has over 14,000 acres and more than 120 miles of shoreline. The median list price around the lake is over $1.5 million. Prime shoreline pushes well into the multiple millions of dollars. The Lake Minnetonka area saw hundreds of sales last year alone. Sales were up year over year, and distressed inventory, as you can imagine, is almost zero. It's one of the cleanest and most stable markets in this entire metro. In a lot of cities, waterfront means something you look at from a condo tower. Here, the lake is part of daily life. Most buyers moving here think they're choosing between Minneapolis and St. Paul, but what they're really stepping into is a full metro with 2 cities that feel very different and a ring of suburbs that each have their own entirely different pull. In many big metros, everything points back to one main center. Prestige follows towards downtown, and real estate prices tend to follow that prestige. The Twin Cities work a little differently. Minneapolis is the more modern business center. You've got the corporate presence, the stadium area, more arts and nightlife, and a more current city feel. The park system, the same one that we talked about earlier, gives the city a strong outdoor space additionally. St. Paul is older and more historic. It's the state capital. Summit Ave is the longest preserved stretch of Victorian era homes in the United States. Nearly 375 of the original still stand along that 4.5-mile boulevard. Then you've got the Hill District, Irvine Park, and Cathedral Hill. These areas feel quieter, more residential, and rich with older architecture at the street level. This is a very different feel from Minneapolis. For some buyers, that's exactly what they're hoping to find. But neither downtown shows fully where buyers want to be in the Twin Cities. Suburbs like Maple Grove, Plymouth, and Eden Prairie are seeing homes move in about 4 to 5 weeks, often close to the full asking price. In central downtown Minneapolis, condos, well, unfortunately, they can sit for months. Buyers on those condos can also get some real discounts off the list price. Downtown St. Paul condos, unfortunately, they're sitting even longer than Minneapolis. So you have 2 real urban cores. Each one has its own feel and real appeal. But the strongest demand in this metro is still in the suburban ring. What makes this unique is how those suburbs actually feel. They don't feel like the same commuter town. Many have their own identity, their own walkable downtown, and their own reason people want to actually be there. The metro doesn't all point to one center. It actually spreads out. So if you're coming from another big metro, this can be a real change. You may be used to asking how close you get to the center. Here, make sure you stay open to the suburbs too. Because in this market, the right suburb may feel like exactly what you're actually looking for. So most people moving to the city ask, what's the best neighborhood near downtown? In Minneapolis, it doesn't really work that way. The better question is, which area fits your life the best? Because here, a lot of real demand is actually in the suburbs. So if you're planning a move to the Twin Cities and you want help figuring out which communities match for what you're looking for, fill out the form that's in the description, right down below. We help relocating buyers and sellers with this every day. We greatly appreciate you watching, and we'd love to help you land in the right spot here in the Twin Cities. Now, if you want a full honest picture of living here, watch the video on the screen right here. I'm talking about the winters and the taxes and the neighborhoods people don't always tell you about. I've been selling homes in this area for 25 years, and I'm giving you my real take on what's going on. We'll see you in the next video and at the next house. Do us a favor. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it because we want to get out these videos to people like you as fast as we can. Have a great day.